It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. And the show is brought to you through the support of our sponsors like CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. If you've ever thought about going into the mobile cart or kiosk business, CartKing.com has been building indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application for over 20 years. And you can go to their website, cart-king.com, check out the different models and designs that they have, whichever one applies to your business. They'll custom design it, custom build it, and ship it worldwide. Also, too, if you do purchase a cart or a kiosk from CartKing.com, you get a lifetime membership from OppermanReport.com or a member section. And also, too, I'll plug your business on the air here or whatever you're doing. Cart-King.com, 877-986-7771. The Pure Soap Flake Company, Christine over there is the head flake. They handcraft the fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils. You can bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap Flake products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company is kind to living creatures and sensitive skin. You can purchase that product. I use it myself. It sounds great on your pots and pans. And that bar soap is great all over your body. Just feels great. 218-568-2525. You can order at puresoapflakes.com, greenhome.com, amazon.com, or you can go to Whole Foods, and you can pick it up at your Whole Foods market. Their company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. AlmightyGold.com. You can get your gold in affordable quantities. Why save in paper when you can save in gold? It's going to appreciate in value. If the economy goes in the toilet, and the old crapola hits the fan, you can have these little carat bars, those little slivers of gold, a tenth of a gram, like $6 worth of gold, $10 worth of gold, embedded in these little credit card sized cards. You can use that to barter with and as your currency, a solid currency if the economy ever hits the toilet. You can also become an affiliate. Go to almightygold.com and sign up, get an affiliate link over there. Anybody clicks on that link, you're going to get a commission. Emailrevealer.com, get an autographed copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. Also, too, we do adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, email tracing, locate and identify somebody from an email address. Someone owe you money, back child support. We do asset searches. We can locate their current place of employment. All kinds of stuff there at emailrevealer.com. All right, our first guest today is going to be Jody Williams. Fascinating story here. She's got a bunch of websites, right? One is called hightechmadam.com. And another one is called sexworkersanonymous.net. And then anatomyofAmovement.com. And basically the story, there's a bunch more. fightingthesystem.org and williamsusa.com. Now, basically the story here is that Jody Williams, I believe, was like a high-tech madam online, and now she's trying to help women that were in sex workers and stuff like that. Am I correct, Jody?
Yes.
So Jody
that's
Williams.
How I got the nickname High Tech Madam, actually.
Okay. Well, tell us about yourself. Who is Jody Williams?
Well, I can start with how I got the nickname. To me, it's interesting because the system hasn't changed really at all. I was involved. I was a madam at one time, and what happened was I was at ground zero for Iran-Contra, basically, and for people who don't know who that is, or what that is, that's when our own government was responsible for importing the cocaine in the 80s, and a lot of it was coming in through Los Angeles at that time. And so unbeknownst to me, I mean, I don't really know much other than I'm having these clients that are in the CIA, FBI, et cetera, who are asking me for a lot of introductions. Which, if you think about it, it's funny when I talk to younger people about explaining the way things were in the 80s before the Internet. before the internet, madams really were the Google, so to speak, of the underworld, because we knew who everybody was. We knew who the drug dealers were. We knew who the dealers were. We knew who the shot callers, I call them, are. We knew who the money launderers were. I mean, essentially, we knew all the movers and shakers.
And it's common for madams to also be like police informants, and you exchange information back and forth in exchange for protection from the police
Well, that's what happened in '84 and the arrest, because it's interesting. If you look up in Google in 1984, you'll see that not only is that the year that I got arrested, but every single madam in the country got arrested. Sydney Barrow Biddles up in New York got arrested. Alex Adams got arrested. Sherry Adams got arrested. I mean, every one of them got arrested that year. Now, at the time, we didn't understand quite what was going on, but with hindsight, I began to see what was happening, because things had gotten really dangerous. I was not working as an informant at that time. None of us were. Not that we were aware of, anyway. We certainly weren't. But things reached a point where I was aware of sex trafficking that was going through the dating game, for example. Stuff that, if you talked to anybody at the time, they would have locked you up in the nut ward, because Chuck Barris was producing the dating game. And in that, the women would go in and do audition tapes to go on the show. Those audition tapes were then shipped out to people overseas, and they would basically pick the girl that they liked. Things were set up where the girl would win the date, Chuck would go on the date with them, and then we were noticing that some of these girls were not coming back. And again, in a pre-internet day, it wasn't the same thing. Things weren't the same. You just sort of noticed somebody wasn't coming back. You'd make some phone calls. You'd hit a stone wall, and that was all you could do, really.
Well, Jody,
you hit that stone wall, and they're gone, and you didn't know much about it. But then you started catching on that more and more women were disappearing in connection with his show.
Well, let me ask you a question. How did you have access to this information about the dating game?
Well, this is another thing that to me was aroused my suspicions, is he had contacted the madams and saying, send me your prettiest girls over to audition. And in fact, Sherry Adams, one of the madams, even auditioned and went on the show. She showed me the tape, and I thought it was kind of cute. But Sherry Adams has an interesting story, too, because the way we divided up Los Angeles at the time, Sherry handled sort of the Hollywood area, which she got a lot of the movie people. And Alex, who was the Beverly Hills, she was called the Hollywood Madam. Then we had Alex, who was the Beverly Hills Madam, who she had a lot of Arab royalty. She was over in the Bel Air, Beverly Hills sort of area.
Wait, and Madam Alex, that's the one who was hooked up with Heidi Fleiss, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. She was the Beverly Hills, and Heidi came in sort of like as a student, at the time. That's another whole other story. But then, and then I took over the San Bernardino Valley, the 818. And my daughter's funny. She says, well, why did you each have, like, different area codes? And I explained to her that at the time, back then, when you made local phone calls, they did not show up with the police department. You couldn't trace them. You couldn't record them, not without a whole big rigmarole to record the call.
Okay.
So any calls made in the 818 area code were untraceable, basically.
Right. Let me explain that. Because I know exactly what you're talking about. That's my specialty. Okay, it's called local usage, LUDs, local usage. And if your exchange is like a 702-605, any call made within 702-605, there's no record of that call. But once you get out of your local usage, then you can get a record of that, a PIN registry on your phone bill, or you can get a copy of that from the phone company and get a list of every single one of those phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what we do is we were divided up by area codes for that reason, so that the calls within that area with our clients, et cetera, were untraceable, essentially, without a whole big rigmarole. And then what we would do is we would have lunch once a week. And we'd get together, we'd have lunch, and we'd share notes, and that way, everything was kept on the down low. So that's why we sort of divided things up by area code back then also at that time. And it, kept us, so we were a clique, I guess call it, but that's also how we knew, who everybody was around town, so to speak. But I noticed with Sherry, she started getting these requests to connect up with producers to produce. Like, if you look, you can actually trace this. Sherry Adams actually was married to Philip Michael Thomas, and they were part of the development of Miami Vice. Now, the reason why I bring that up is with Iran-Contra is we were being asked to find connections within Hollywood to promote cocaine, basically. This is another thing I thought was, I'm trying to catch on at the time, is that they were looking specifically for ways to create the market for cocaine, to glamorize it. So, of course, shows like Miami Vice were being created to really sort of drive the demand for the product, so to speak. Alex and I, we started getting requests for training our girls, the girls that we were sending out, on how to introduce the cocaine at parties. Because, of course, our girls are at all these big parties. So they essentially were the ones, bringing the drugs into these parties. Because think about it, the gangbangers were not going into the Bel Air Hotel. They were not at a Hollywood producer's party. I mean, these were the girls that were bringing it in and showing these guys, how to use the freebase equipment, et cetera. So that's essentially where we came in, is that we were teaching the girls how to introduce it and then introducing it into Hollywood, which, of course, when we got the producers in love with it, you see this whole string of, movies coming out basically making it seem really glamorous. And it drove the market at the time. But we weren't really aware at the time. We just were like, oh, we want you to hook us into this party or that party. And, we're getting paid for these introductions is all we know at the time. But things got really dark when they started asking us to find them girls that had no family. And they made it very clear to me one day what was happening with these girls, that they were literally being sent over to, the one day that I saw was Saudi Arabia, and there was a diplomat plane that she was put on. She was drugged. She was put on the plane. I couldn't stop it because it was a diplomat plane. It can't be stopped. The guy wanted to show me there was nothing I could do about it and that it wasn't illegal. So he was laughing, basically, like, go ahead and try to stop the plane. And I did. I, called the police. I tried to call airport security. I'm running around like a maniac, and I almost got myself again in the net ward that day because it was something that our society did not believe was happening. I mean, if you look back at the day when people used to think the mafia didn't exist, okay, that's what I was dealing with, is that our society did not believe that this kind of thing existed. Contra was not aware of, sex trafficking was not aware of. I mean, this was stuff that was happening so far underground that people just didn't, believe it was happening. And then when I would turn on the television, I would see such propaganda that was unreal, that was not the truth. It was bizarre, I mean, I would be literally down at the pier, and they'd be, unloading the truck with boxes and crates full of cocaine. We'd be taking it down to be processed to go down to the crack houses and take it to the gangbangers. And then I'd go home to the valley, turn on the news, and see this news all about, the gang drug problem. And it was just bizarre to me because it wasn't at all reality,
Yeah, we've had Rick Ross on the show. Rick Ross has been on our show as well.
We've
done a lot of stuff on Iran-Contra.
And I haven't quite understood why he leaves out the sex trafficking thing. I've tried to reach him since. And he acts terrified of me. I've tried to talk to the producers that he's working with. They act terrified of me. I've tried to call in shows even, and the producers freak out and slam down the phone on me. I don't know why they're afraid. I even tried to reach John Singleton when he was writing Snowfall, and I've watched that show very carefully. They skirt around the porn connection, like even the premiere show on Snowfall. They do show, the porn director's house, for example, and that show, oh my God, that show gives me nightmares. It's so realistic. Oh my God, that show's realistic. It's extremely upsetting. But I watch it because I want to see, and then they go right up to the edge of the sex industry involvement, and then they skirt around it. I don't know why. I don't know why they're leaving out that part of the story.
Which show are you talking about?
I have a suspicion I know why, and I think it's why they killed Gary Webb, because I'm trying to figure out why they'll talk about Iran-Contra as the drugs, but they won't talk about the sex industry part.
Wait, what show are you talking about?
Oh, Snowfall.
I never heard.
Oh my
of it.
God, you haven't? Oh, Snowfall. John Singleton, who wrote like Boys in the Hood, you know, he wrote Snowfall. It's a series on FX right now.
Didn't he just die?
Yes, and it's funny. Let me tell you, I have my own suspicions about that because what I know about Iran-Contra and him writing the series, when I heard he was writing it, when he was first writing it, I tried to reach him, and I was literally having to live in an RV that I moved every 3 days because they were trying to kill me. So, I mean, that was my solution, is I was in an RV that I was moving every 3 days because I was having so many attempts on my life during those couple of years. So I'm trying to reach him when I heard he was writing it, and I heard he was out on a boat. And I'm like laughing because I'm going, I bet he's out there for security because so many people were winding up dead. Look, you talked about Jeannie Palfrey. I mean, there were just so many people winding up dead that knew about this stuff that I was laughing he was on the boat to protect himself. I know he came up to do the show, you know, and then as soon as the show airs, he has this strange death that even sounds suspicious. They claim he died of deep vein thrombosis, supposedly, which you can get from writing. Yeah, the guy who wrote The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo he died of that. You know, it's from sitting a lot and writing. However, his symptoms don't match because I've even had that. You know, they say that he complained of weakness in the legs and that he went into Cedars-Sinai and died, but you don't die that way from deep vein. It's very sudden. I mean, I've literally had it myself. It's very sudden. It's just strange the way he died to me, but I don't know. Because when I heard they were coming out with the second series, you know, the second season, I thought, oh boy, maybe we can talk about the rest of the story that they keep leaving out. And that's when I started trying to reach his people again, you know, to talk to them about it. Because they're only focusing on the gang part of the story. They're not focusing, you know, that was what was happening in Compton. And for what they were doing, it's a phenomenal show. It is so realistic. It's very upsetting for me to watch it. I mean, the people are the people. The set, the you know, the sets, the clothing, the music. It is so accurate. It's frightening. The story, they changed the story a little bit. Like, I know, for example, it took me a few times to realize there's a female character in there who they show owns a nightclub. And after a few times, because I kept going, who is that? Believe me, there was no female nightclub owner back then in the 80s. No. But there was the man that I worked for. At the club that I worked for, that's how I got into prostitution, was a man that owned that club. And I'll guarantee, but he's still alive. So I think they changed his character to a female, you know, just to basically, because he is still, in fact, he's the only one still alive. I've tried to track down a lot of the pimps that got me into the game back in the day, and he's the only one left alive still. So I think that might be why they changed his character, you know?
Now, you keep talking about, you said they were doing this and they were doing that. Who were these guys? Smoking at the coke and smoke. This was the CIA, gangsters. What were they?
Well, you know, I have to kind of start at the beginning. I mean, when I first got into this whole world, you know, I was a little college girl. I was a teenager. I got a job at a local nightclub called the Valley West in Tarzana, and I was working as a cocktail waitress. And I did not know at the time, of course, that the club was for money laundering, basically, and that it was owned by a group of men that were drug dealers and pimps. And so when I started getting into this culture, you know, I started getting, and it was a culture, really. You know, I started out initially with them, with this family, and it was a very family structure. You know, African-American, they were African-American family. Yeah, there were pimps. But at the very beginning, the head of the family, he's called Weldon, and they're related to Richard Pryor. Now, Richard Pryor's been very open about his mother being a prostitute and his grandmother being a madam. So he's talked about this family, so it's not a big secret. It was his family that got this club, and so it was very related to Richard Pryor. So when I came in, you know, I was around a lot of celebrity, around a lot of money. You know, it was very exciting for me at the time. And then, so I was on the upper level of the prostitution to begin with. Drugs were not a part of it. In fact, when I was so to speak taught the game, they said we don't want to teach you to be a prostitute. We want to teach you to be a manager. In other words, one of them. And so I was taught not to be involved with drugs in the beginning, but that was in the late 70s. Then, of course, things changed when I bring up Iran-Contra, because what happened was the pimps, the men involved in the family, started using cocaine, and their behavior started getting violent and dangerous. And one of the men, actually, Nick, he was a bartender at the club, he killed himself after like a 3-day binge on cocaine, just literally shot his head off. And that's when I had enough. And I went to the head of the family, Weldon, and said, I know nobody leaves, because you did not leave the family back then. It was very clear if you did, you would be hurt. So I basically said, I understand that, there's certain rules here, but things are getting out of hand. This behavior is getting dangerous. I'd like to get away from this. And he understood. He said, you know what? He said, something's wrong, too. I agree with you. The drugs have taken over. I'm going to go back home to Texas, and, you can go. I was like, oh, okay, that was easy. So I was basically independent. Now, I didn't realize at the time they were affording me a certain amount of protection, because here I am having lunch with these madams also. And, of course, they hear that this family's left me, so I didn't realize that they were like a form of protection in a way. Word spreads very fast in that world that you're like an outlaw, so to speak, that you don't have anybody behind you, in other words.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so that's when Alex actually, because I did not know she was working with these CIA, FBI guys. I did not know that at the time. I just know she's introducing me to clients. So she starts, introducing me to these men that are asking me for these things. Like, can you introduce me to a banker who's willing to launder money? And they would give me a $10,000 introduction fee. So, of course, sure, no problem. And I'd, go out, and that's how that relationship started. And some of them, of course, you don't know at first they're connected up with the government at all, but you start catching on. And some of it's covert, not like they're doing it officially, but that that's like their job that they do.
Right.
Which that's the thing with Iran-Contra. It wasn't like an official job, but it was men that were working for the government. And it was basically FBI, CIA. And, of course, they use phony names, so who knows what their names were,
Did you stay in touch with any of those guys to this day?
Oh, not after what happened when all the shit hit the fan in 84. Because, the shit hit the fan in 84.
Well, wait, let me interrupt you for 1 second, because this will be playing on AM/FM radio, okay? So you have to keep it... I should have told you before. I apologize.
Oh, sorry.
So that's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, definitely, everything went crazy, went sideways in 84.
Right.
But like I said, I could see the darkness coming when, they built up this relationship with us where we seemed comfortable with them, making these introductions. And they would ask us to send girls over to see senators, no problem. We got very comfortable. But then came that day when they were asking us to find the women to disappear, women that had no family. And we were not cool with that. None of us were cool with that. It's funny. We don't mind renting a girl for the weekend. We know she's coming back home. But somebody that's going to be disappearing, no. And, of course, they offered us more money, but they saw that none of us were going for it. So at that point, I decided to get out of the business, literally. And I set up, I don't know if it's anything to brag about, but I set up the first live phone sex business in the country. My mom had been working with some people to open up a psychic hotline. And so I'd been aware of these different phone exchanges that existed where people could call in and, you could bill things. And they had just developed an ability where people could call in and get a live phone call. And the cocaine and AIDS at that time were so bad that it had become really frightening to be an escort at that time. Now, the girls that were working the street, you were hearing about record murders. Just every day there was a murder. So you had girls that were in the business, but they were getting really scared to go out. So to me, the phone sex business was a good solution. We could, talk on the phone, make some money, and, everybody was safe that way. So I developed this, and it went like gangbusters because we were pulling in like $30,000 a week, all legal. So why would I continue to be in prostitution if I'm making $30,000 a week legal, So at that point, I shut everything down. I stopped the ads. I cut off the phones. I told the girls that didn't want to do the phone sex that I was, retiring. I basically spread the word that I was out of there, But I still had a lease on this warehouse. And girls were literally disappearing at this time. And it was pretty frightening because you couldn't go to the police. You were treated like a criminal on all levels when you called the police. I want to hear about it. So girls are disappearing and needing some place to go. Now, AIDS being the epidemic that it was, it started a sphere of prostitutes that was really hard to describe. But if you went to, say, a homeless shelter and you looked like a prostitute, they would turn you away. If you tried to go to detox and you looked like a prostitute, they would turn you away. Nobody wanted to be within 10 feet of you if you looked like a prostitute back in 83. So just the fear of AIDS was so prevalent that there was no services for us if we wanted to get away from these maniac pimps on cocaine that were just crazy, or the guys that were dating women. There was nowhere to go. Not even Skid Row Mission would even turn us away, just the fear of AIDS. So I still had this old warehouse that I'd converted into a brothel. So it had beds, it had a shower, it had that kind of thing. I had like 6 months more on the lease. So these girls are calling me up saying, I got to get out of here, and I've got nowhere to go. And I was like, okay, here's the key, go knock yourself out. There's food in the fridge, And it was basically, I didn't know at the time, but it was the first safe house for sex trafficking victims in the country because there was a need, and there was literally no other place for these women to go. So I've got these women, basically staying at this warehouse over in Van Nuys, and they get on their feet, get well, the bruises would heal, and then I'd help them get home to their family. So it was literally the first safe house. But these corrupt police officers involved in Iran-Contra were not happy about it. They were definitely not happy about it. They like to feel that when they've got you cornered, that you've got nowhere to go. So the fact that these women were in there and, I was young. I didn't realize at the time, but I kind of was enjoying the fact that they were safe there. I had a couple of really corrupt police officers try to break in the brothel to get at some of the girls that we were protecting, and we had iron bars up on the windows. That's why they called me high-tech madam. I had cameras up, closed-circuit TV. I had alarms up. I had iron bars. This place was as secure as Fort Knox. And plus I had camera equipment recording everything because I figured if somebody did break in and kill us, I at least wanted some kind of record of it, And
now, let me ask you a question.
So they weren't happy about the warehouse. So they basically framed me for it. They called it a brothel,
Okay.
And next thing I know, they literally created a task force to come after me, claiming that I was running this brothel and, arrested me over it, which, of course, there wasn't a shred of evidence. Not a shred. I literally shut everything off, the phones, the ads, everything. So I'm yelling at my lawyer like, there's no evidence. How can they arrest me for pimping when I haven't done anything and there's no proof I've done anything? So they pulled out their little ace in the hole, which is they pulled out a photograph of me, take a picture of me handing a $20 bill to my mother in exchange for a bucket of KFC chicken. I'll never forget this because they said that under the law, it's receipt of earnings from a prostitute. So the fact that I'd given her the $20 bill was proof that my mother was pimping me. And they claimed if I didn't plea bargain and play ball with them, that they would arrest my mother for pimping me and put her in prison for 8 years.
Now, let me ask you a question. Was this federal investigators or state level or county? What was this?
Well, that's where things got really strange, is I was supposedly arrested for pimping, running this brothel, but they had this task force that they'd created to come after me. So they were all on there. And then, as I'm going through with my attorney, this is another thing I didn't understand at the time, is all these weird things were coming up right before, they're trying to get me to plea bargain, which is he tells me you'll never, because I was demanding a trial. I mean, I could prove I was legal at that time, and it was all bogus, and it was being railroaded, so I was demanding a trial. And my lawyer's like, they'll never let you have a trial. And I'm like, I don't understand. He said, they'll claim national defense and shut you down. And I'm like, national defense? I mean, you have to realize I didn't understand what was happening to me at the time.
Well, wait.
I didn't know
who was your lawyer at the time?
Iran-Contra,
Who was your lawyer at the time, and how did he know about this connection?
Because he was talking to everybody for me.
Okay.
I mean, he knew, because at one point, I mean, he was talking to everybody, and believe me, they were up his behind about me, because at one point, they raised my bail up to $50,000, which today would be like $500,000. Back in '84, $50,000 was like $500,000. And of course, everybody was going, for what? For a prostitute? What are you doing? And so it was really alarming. Obviously, they wanted to keep me in jail. So, of course, even my attorney's curious. No bail bondsman was going to touch that kind of bail at that time for somebody like me. So we had to go through a whole special arrangement to get me out. He's not stupid, and he was knowing something strange was going on with that kind of a bail, that they wanted to keep me in jail. And he had been a criminal lawyer at that time for years. So a lot of people he knew in the system. And then came the phone call when they were arranging my bail, where he told me, keep your head down, don't let them get you in any elevators, don't let them get you in it. Because remember, there were no cameras in jail back then. No, there was nothing. So he was telling me, don't get in any corners, don't get in any elevators. And I'm like, what's going on? He said, they're going to try to kill you if I can't get you out in time. So he said, be quiet, keep your head down, stay out of elevators. And I'm like, oh, my God. So he did actually get me out of there before anything could happen. I mean, I would be dead if not for this lawyer.
And this was in
California. Because he told me straight out, they told him they wanted me dead.
This was in
and
California.
He had to negotiate for me.
This is in California. Okay. Let's take a commercial break, okay? By the way, you don't have to rush through this, okay? Because we can have you back and fill in the blanks, okay? We can definitely. I definitely want to do some more shows with you. You got a lot of good stuff here. Okay, we're with Jody Williams, okay? And which of the websites you want to plug? I don't have them in front of me right now. Read us the websites you want to plug.
Oh, well, the main one is sexworkersanonymous.net. That's the hotline for the group I run now.
Okay, sexworkersanonymous.net. We'll be right back with more of Jody Williams after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. AlmightyGold.com. Get your gold in affordable quantities. 1 gram, 2.5 grams, 5 grams, no minimum purchase required. Why save in paper when you can save in gold? AlmightyGold.com understands it's difficult to afford gold in large quantities. No one can afford an ounce of gold. This is why Almighty Gold has introduced to you Carat Bars, a most reliable company where you can buy gold in minor quantities from as little as 1/10 of a gram. That's like $6. Each gold bar is inset into the Carat Bar frame, which is a standard credit card size, and it's covered by a safety laminate. It's imprinted with a unique DNA for counterfeit protection and provided with a blacklight authenticity signature on the front. Gold, AlmightyGold.com. They have a cryptocurrency backed in gold, and you can become an affiliate at AlmightyGold.com and make a commission from any gold that is purchased from your affiliate link. It's contact us at almightygold.com. That's their email address. Contact us at almightygold.com. Gold! Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe add new point-of-sale locations across the country quickly, or bring in revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services to your office building, warehouse, or lobby? CartKing.com is the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail, coffee, food carts, and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. That's www.cart-king.com. Give them a call at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. So you go to the website, cartking.com, you check out their different designs and models. You pick out which design applies to your business. They'll custom design it for you, custom build it for you, and ship it worldwide. cartking.com. PureSoapFlakes.com. 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. Order today at puresoapflakes.com, greenhome.com, amazon.com, or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Jody Williams, anyway, she has this website called, what was that called again, Sex Workers Anonymous?
Yeah, sexworkersanonymous.net. It's the only hotline right now for anybody who wants to get out of prostitution or the sex industry that's run by people that used to be in the industry.
Gotcha. Too bad I didn't know about you a couple of months back. I had a woman who was trying to get her off the street, and she wound up dead down there in Arizona. I'll tell you the story when I talk to her off the air. Now, you have a podcast, too, as well?
Oh, we're getting ready to. Yeah, we've been asked to do it, so we're putting together a podcast. So it's coming.
Okay, then let me ask you this now. Do you have any criminal charges pending right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not guilty of it, and let's put it this way.
Right.
I think the government is after me again. But Frank Dukes, the guy that Bloodsport was based on, him and I talk, and I'm like, I joke with him. I'm like, I'm so law-abiding. I'm clean. I stay in my house. Like, why are they after me like this? I don't understand. And he gave me this manual called the Disruption Strategy Manual. Evidently, they teach them in the FBI how to screw with people that are law-abiding when they want to. And I went, oh, my God, that's exactly what they're doing to me. Because it's like every year they do something that they manufacture at me. And it's getting to be to the point where it's getting so ludicrous now, you know, that I'm talking to some lawyers about actually suing the government over this. It's been for 10 straight years they've been harassing me now.
Okay, slow down.
Yeah.
Now, Frank Dukes, he's like a karate guy or something, right?
Yeah, he's the guy that made the movie Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme about. But he's a real life guy. He used to be a CIA agent, so he knows all about this stuff.
Now, you're so concerned about your safety and stuff like that, you don't even leave your house.
No, I don't leave my house. No, the last time I did, I regretted it, was February. Well, you got to trace back to on November 12th. Okay, I'm literally going to bed at like 8 o'clock at night. You know, I have a disabled daughter. I'm disabled. You know, we're so law-abiding. You know, it's not even funny. You know, we stay in the house. We have groceries delivered. I answer the hotline. Right. All of a sudden, there's this banging at the door. And it's like, you know, who's that, you know? And after a few minutes, you know, we finally realized that there's like 4 Metro officers outside my door. And thank God it was a solid steel door. Now, I've learned that if they don't have a warrant, I'm not opening that door.
The door. Yeah.
So, you know, when I realize who they are, I'm like, do you have a warrant? And no, they don't have a warrant. So I don't want to be uncooperative. So I call in dispatch, 911, and say, do you guys have a warrant? No. I said, is there a reason why there's officers at my door? And they literally didn't know because they're supposed to dispatch them to you. So 911 had no idea that there were police at my door. So now I'm alarmed because that means that they have no business at my door. And they spent the next 2 hours trying to literally tear down my door. And they made it very clear when they got in that door that I was going to be toast.
Let's stop for a second there.
And thank God a reporter friend of mine called them. He called them and said, what are you doing there trying to tear down her door? And they split, thank God.
Okay, for people who think
that's when I moved. I moved to a very secure location after that.
Okay, for people who think this is a wild claim or something like that, this happens all the time. Off-duty
Yes.
cops in uniform showing up at people's doors and enforcing things for other people. Okay, this is common, and here in Nevada too, especially Clark County here in Nevada, the cops shoot people.
All the
They
time.
shoot them down dead all the time. There's no investigation. The ice cream truck ladies get shot down the street. Ice cream truck drivers, people with unarmed people left and right all the time. So you're very wise not to open your door, by the way, for any circumstance, unless they have a warrant.
I wasn't gonna. As long as there wasn't a warrant, I'm not opening the doors. Thank God, because they had no business being there. I did have an internal affairs. It opened. Of course,
Yeah.
they haven't told me the results.
Good luck.
But through a friend of mine,
Yeah.
I found out that 2 officers were fired over what happened to me. Now, I don't. Of course, they're not telling me anything, but I do know that if 2 officers were fired over what happened to me, they had no business being there that night.
Okay.
You know? Now, to put in context, this was only 2 weeks after Dennis Hoff was found dead. And I still don't think he died naturally either. And it was 2 weeks before Whitey Bulger had been murdered in prison. So I was very nervous then that something was going to happen to me because Whitey Bulger, Dennis Hoff, and I know a lot of these things that I'm telling you on this show that I don't think the government wants me talking about.
All right, stop for a
So
second.
that's one of the reasons why I think they were coming after me.
Okay, you knew Whitey Bulger?
Well, we knew of each other from back in the day. Yeah, we're the
Okay.
old gangsters. Yeah.
Okay.
So
What
we
about
know all the old dirt.
what about your relationship with Dennis Hoff? What can you tell us about that?
Well, we had a relationship a lot of people don't realize because of my operating Sex Workers Anonymous, which is, it happens. I mean, because we started out being the place that women could call to get help that couldn't go to the police. So I'm dealing with very delicate situations. And, that put me, believe it or not, in contact with, I knew Dennis Hoff the day he took over the first brothel.
Okay.
I called him up and congratulated him and introduced myself and said, hey, if you get a situation where a woman wants to get away from her pimp, I can help. And, so we developed a friendship at that time. And so I talked to Dennis Hoff at least every couple of months through the whole time he was owning the brothels.
Okay.
So we were very connected with each other.
Did you know Scott Thornton?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, what about Sheldon Adelson? What's the story with that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really wish I knew. I got hornswoggled, and believe me, I got hornswoggled into this whole fiasco press conference by Melissa Farley. My mother had just died, and Melissa Farley came up to me, and oh my God, if I could turn back the clock, she fed me a line of bull about what we were going to do and how we were going to change the country and yada 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 yada. She got me involved in this whole thing where she basically, I had never ever allowed anybody to know how we operated Sex Workers Anonymous. Like, how do we deal with things? Like if a woman calls us up for help and then we get her to safety, like I never let anybody know that process before, okay? She basically, gave me this whole line about how if I let them research it, we could open up this center and duplicate it across the country. And she just really handed me this whole line about it. But what she really wanted was, you have to realize that we were the only program working in Nevada, okay? And I had been working in Nevada because of the calls that I would get from the brothels. The women were calling me up. Those brothels are in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
There's not even a bus out of there. There's not a cab out of there. So literally these women from 1988 are calling me up going, get me out of here. So I would have to drive and go get them out of there, So Melissa also wanted to know about our work at the brothels. She was supposedly doing this report on trafficking within the brothels. Now, that's where she came to me at, was that she wanted to know about trafficking within the brothels. I was not aware it was going to be an attack on the brothels. Different story. So I worked with her on this research. I let her do the research. I let her talk to people within our organization. I let her work on her report. I let her talk to the women that we had taken out of the brothels in Nevada. I really opened up the books to her, so to speak.
Okay, we're running out of time. How does that connect to Sheldon Adelson?
I'm getting there because what happened was she put it together in a report called Trafficking in Nevada, Making the Connections. and she wanted to release this book at a press conference. So she said, nobody will believe me unless you stand up with me and say it's true. So and I'm like, I had not been on camera since my daughter was born in 91. I did not want to be on camera because of my daughter. So I'm like, well, maybe I can change my hair or something. I don't know. I just was like, I really don't want to do. She was insisting how important. So I basically, finally agreed. I mean, she really pitched me on this. She even claimed Gloria Steinem was going to be at this press conference to get me to go. I mean, it was really awful the way she lied to me. So she basically gets me up at this press conference, and as they're getting ready to mic me, this is an important meeting with Sheldon Adelson because it is about the lawsuit, and it's when everything changed. This was in 2007 because she came to me because I was literally the only group or person doing this kind of work in the country at this time, okay? So it was important that I validate her. So that's why I had to be at this press conference. And the room is full of reporters. I mean, we had everybody there. And then they're literally miking me up to go on in front of these reporters. And Melissa says to me, I need to speak to you before you talk. And I'm going, okay, what? She says, before you say anything, I need you to say 3 things for me. And I said, what? And she said, I need you to say that you want all sex work outlawed. She said, I want you to say all prostitution is rape. And I want you to say it's not a business, it's a human rights violation. And I turned around and looked at her, and I'm like, I can't say that. What are you talking about? I'm in Nevada. If I call to outlaw the industry, I'll be dead in 3 days. What are you talking about? I mean, I just was like, I'm not saying this, And I just went ahead, did my thing, and I noticed that she was going out into the hallway with the reporters. But, I didn't think anything about it. I go home, I turn on the news, and I hear Jody Williams calls to outlaw the brothels. And I went, oh, my God. I started calling reporters, screaming at them, where did you get that idea from? And they said, Melissa Farley told us that you said, oh, my God. I'm like, retract it. They said, we can't. It's already out. I mean, all hell broke loose. And I mean, it was bad because I was calling the papers up, et cetera, yada, saying, you've got to pull this. I didn't say this, yada, yada, because I knew it was going to put a bullseye on my back, And I didn't understand why she was doing it either at the time, why she wanted me to say these things. So enough to put the words in my mouth, basically. So the next morning after this, hell's breaking loose, right? I get this woman call me up from the Review-Journal, supposedly. She claims she was a reporter for the Review-Journal. She said she wanted to do a cover story on me and asked me to come for the interview. And I sat there for 2 hours with lunch for her, did the interview, and then she wanted to take my picture. And I refused. I said, no, I will not have a clear picture of me. No. I said, every pimp in the country will have a picture of me in the pocket. No. And so she goes, oh, okay. She said, I can't run the story without the picture. And I said, well, then you're not running the story. I don't care, And she goes, you really don't. And I'm like, I can't put my picture out there or I can't do what I do, I need to be able to blend, And she goes, oh, okay. She says, well, then I have something to tell you. And I'm like, oh, hey, what? She says, I've been here to tell you that you have been officially blacklisted in any media that Sheldon Adelson has any control over. And at the time, I'm going, who the hell is Sheldon Adelson? I mean, I didn't know. Not a clue, right? And I'm thinking, who is, so I double-checked this woman. She was a reporter, but she was a reporter for The Sun. Her name was Abigail Goldman. And I couldn't understand, what was going on. So I called up another reporter I knew at the Review-Journal, and I said, am I blacklisted? And he said, Sheldon Adelson didn't officially own the Review-Journal at that time. I was controlling it. And I go, but am I blacklisted? He goes, oh, no, you're not blacklisted. I said, oh. And he says, so you can do a story on me. He goes, oh, yeah, sure. And so I said, he goes, well, give me an angle. So I told him about the money laundering that was going on through the sex trafficking movement, because at that time they were putting out millions into these groups to do supposedly help. It was not reaching us, believe me. It was just sheer money laundering. So I said, how about this for an angle? So he works on the story for a couple of weeks. He gets ready to go forward with the story, and then, boom, he's fired. And so was the reporter the photographer that worked on the story with him. And he calls me up and he goes, oh, I guess it's true. You're blacklisted. He goes, look, he said, I need this job. He said, so I talked my way back in. He goes, but I'm very dedicated to what you're doing. And he said, I will get your name out in this paper one way or the other. And he did. He got me a beautiful quote from Michael Horowitz, the guy who wrote the Trafficking Act of 2000 about how this movement has been hijacked. And he got another quote from me in there. And I love it because it goes to show if the quote's in there in this one paper but not in the others, it does beg the question why. Why am I being absent in these other stories? So I love that he did that,
Okay. We're out of time. Okay, we're out of time. But I'd like to call you back and tape like another half hour with you, if that's okay.
Sure.
What do you know about Jeffrey Epstein? Okay.
Oh, I can tell you a lot about that one.
I'm going to call you up in a little while. We're going to talk about that. But for this episode here, what do you want to leave us with? And if I'm a woman out on the street right now and I'm being held, I had another woman, Anoka Mack, on my show too as well. She was held kidnapped in a garage here. I got gangrene, stole from one pimp to another. Then the cops wanted to arrest her after that. But finally, they got her to a hospital.
That's exactly why we have the hotline. The cops are not helpful in some situations.
The cops are not helpful.
Because of Sheldon Adelson's blacklist, a lot of people don't know about our hotline. So I want them to know about our hotline. They can call us, and we will get them out. We will get them out of there.
What's the hotline?
SexWorkersAnonymous.net. There's a number on there they can call 24/7 and talk to me.
Okay, let me see if I got the phone number in front of me here. I don't think I do. I don't.
702-488-1127.
702.
It's on the website, too.
Okay. Oh, anyway, listen, I'll call you back in a little while here. Thank you so much. We're with Jody Williams. We're talking about her website here, which is called, where is it? SexWorkersAnonymous.net. Okay, and this is where she can rescue. She's been in the business. She knows her way around and stuff. Trust me, I think she knows what she's talking about. I get the impression she knows what she's talking about. Okay, so we'll be.
As I said, these girls don't surprise me. Whatever they're dealing with, I know about it and I can help them. Yes.
Right. Okay, and the number is 702-488-1127. And we're going to do a second part. I'm going to call her back in a little while. We're going to do a second part. Thank you so much there, Jody Williams.
Thank you.
Good night. Oh, boy. Okay. A lot of stuff she's talking about here I can confirm with my own personal knowledge and experience. Let's just start with that. Secondly, here, too, we're going to have her back because she's doing a lot of stuff about Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to call her right back in a couple of minutes. If you like today's show, by the way, also we've done shows with Dennis Hoff in my members section. You could find that. You can also find it on Spreaker.com. We've done shows with Montgomery Blair Sibley, who was Puffrey's attorney. I have in my member section all the phone numbers, her phone bills, the DC Madam's phone bills. This is all stuff we're very with. I've also interviewed Freeway Rick Ross about all this stuff too. Iran-Contra smuggling. We've had all the on the show, so you can check. If you go to Spreak.com and look through our archives. But this is a good source of information here, and I want to get more with our guest here today, Jody Williams. So I'm going to be getting her back online in a couple of minutes. If you enjoyed today's show, check out House of Mystery comes on right before us on KCAA. Also, too, on KYAH 540 AM. You can find us on both of those stations at 10 p.m. Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. in the evenings. You can find us on Spreaker.com, SPREAKER.com, Opera Report. That's where we have all of our archives of our shows. You can go there and follow the show for free, and then you get an email notification whenever a show comes on live. There's a chat room. All the archives are up on there, too. Then OperamanReport.com, that's our members section where we have tons, over 200 hours of exclusive reporting on there. You won't find anywhere else on these kind of topics and more. We also have the other DC Madam, Henry Vincent, the homosexual male DC Madam that was caught up in a whole Franklin cover-up. We had Tim Tate, who did the Conspiracy of Silence. So if you like these kind of topics, you found the right place. And now a word from our sponsors. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe add new point-of-sale locations across the country quickly, or bring in revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services to your office building, warehouse, or lobby? CartKing.com is the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail, coffee, food, carts, and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. That's www.cart-king.com. Give them a call at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. So you go to the website, CartKing.com. You check out their different designs and models. You pick out which design applies to your business. They'll custom design it for you, custom build it for you, and ship it worldwide. CartKing.com. EmailRevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey, Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat. Locate his hidden assets. Locate his hidden bank accounts. Find his current place of employment and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com. Digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages. Create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com. 800-572-9762. Almightygold.com. Get your gold in affordable quantities. 1 gram, 2.5 grams, 5 grams, no minimum purchase required. Why save in paper when you can save in gold? AlmightyGold.com understands it's difficult to afford gold in large quantities. No one can afford an ounce of gold. This is why Almighty Gold has introduced to you Carat Bars, a most reliable company where you can buy gold in minor quantities from as little as 1/10 of a gram. That's like $6. Each gold bar is inset into the Carat Bar frame, which is a standard credit card size, and it's covered by a safety laminate. It's imprinted with a unique DNA for counterfeit protection and provided with a blacklight authenticity signature on the front. Gold, almightygold.com. They have a cryptocurrency backed in gold, and you can become an affiliate at almightygold.com and make a commission from any gold that is purchased from your affiliate link. It's contact us at almightygold.com. That's their email address. Contact us at almightygold.com. Gold!
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back. Just want to give you a quick update. If you like tonight's show, check out, we updated the members section. A lot of new content, okay? One is this woman, Lauren Axelrod. She interviewed me. It was the day right after Jeffrey Epstein got arrested, but I wasn't yet able to been released from my non-disclosure agreement yet, so I couldn't speak openly about my professional involvement in that case. But, we did discuss Epstein, as well as other stuff, other things I'm involved with, and all kind of fun stuff. Then also, too, so we got 3 shows going over the members section tonight. Vic's doing it for me. Another one is this woman, Tovi, who was a host and a member over at Revolution Radio. And we talk about a couple of unknown people that haven't been discussed before that were involved in child pornography and child molestation with Revolution. That's his name. And he talks about insider stock trades, money laundering, Jamaican drug gangs laundering their money on Wall Street, Trump, Epstein, Felix Sater, the Crazy Eddie scam, Ed Manfredonia. Okay, that's great content too there as well. You can enjoy that. All brand new content, all uploaded to the members section. You can go there to OppermanReport.com, sign up tonight. As little as $6, you can get a 1-month membership. You get access to over 200 shows, all the documents in the Jeffrey Epstein case. But also, too, if you want to help support, because I've got 16 days before my daughter goes off to college, so we got to get her over there. I got to rent motel rooms. I got to rent cars, and we need what do you got here? So if you want to become a member, you email me at oppermanreport@gmail.com. I'll give you a huge discount. What do you call it? 13 months for $65, but we do the transaction through PayPal. You get 13 months membership. I can set you up the same night that I get the PayPal invoice. I want to thank Alan Warren. House of Mystery comes on before me at 9 p.m. Monday to Friday. Thank you so much, Alan, with all your support. If you like my show, you'll love Alan's show. Alan Warren, 9 p.m. KCAA AM FM radio in California, and also on KYAH 540 AM in Utah. And, of course, you can find me on Spreaker, Spreaker.com, Spreaker.com. Go to Spreaker.com, look up Opperman Report, and then you'll follow the show for free. It's all free over there. And you see old archives on there on Spreaker.com.